Afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Note Closer Show. My name is Scott Carson, and as always, I'm excited to be here with you guys. Lots of great stuff, rocking and rolling today. It is Tuesday, and it is phenomenal to be back in the office. Yesterday was a very busy day after being gone for a week, and so always trying to get caught up on emails and subjects where we are in assets, getting prepared for our virtual workshop this week, along with obviously getting things organized a little bit more so for our upcoming Note Camp 5.0 taking place in just under literally 30 days out. So always a little busy, you know what I'm saying? Lots of good stuff. But on this episode, I thought I would share with you guys the results of our most recent Banking Blitzkrieg that we had. Now, for those that are just joining us live or listening to us, maybe you've heard me talk about this before, but those that are listening to us for the first time on either Facebook Live or iTunes or Stitcher, first of all, thank you for joining us. We had a 4-week period from January 22nd through roughly the 16th of February, where we opened it up to about 20 plus people. There's like 25 people to begin with, and of course some people flaked off to begin with. We ended up with right about 15 people making phone calls on a regular basis for us over those 4 weeks. Now, what did they call them? Did they make their own lists? What happened? What? No. What happened is we literally pulled the lists together, and I separated the lists off in chunks. Now, that's not always the easiest thing to do when you're pulling from a variety of different places. So some of the places that we pulled from Lane Guide. I pulled from Texas Mortgage Bankers lists. And then I pulled another list of my own as well that we had. And then I literally divvied up the lists, at 100 asset managers at a time, 50 asset managers at a time. And the goal was, all right, first week, let's give those callers 100 phone calls each. And if they turn in a list, they'll get a new list the following week. But they've got to provide their call logs. And that worked really well for most of everybody. But we did have a few people that flaked off, and those that didn't complete their phone calls and flaked off, they didn't get another list. It just is not worth me doing the work on the front end if they can't do the simple work on the back end. I get it. 50 to 100 phone calls is not the easiest thing, especially if you're brand new. But overwhelmingly along the way, a lot of people really enjoyed it. And if you're one of those people and you're watching this on Facebook Live or listening to this, love to hear your comments. Love to have you chime in on Facebook Live as well so we can go through it. If you have questions about that, great. Feel free to ask your questions. We'll be glad to talk about it. But one of the things is that we had done this a while back. We literally had gotten together over a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago now, I think about it, in Anaheim with about 9 to 10 of our mastermind members. And we set out a week to make phone calls and knocked out a lot of phone calls. Not everybody was able to stay for the full 5 days. Some people were going to a different event. But those that stuck around, we were able to get about 2,000 phone calls made in that 5-day period, which is really effective. And then, of course, we followed back up with reach outs and things like that. And it's prospered. Not everybody that showed up to that, though, followed up with that. That was the thing that concerns me. If all these people are going to do this work, we want to make sure that it's relevant. And so that's one of the things that we promised those that went through this. Hey, if you make it all the way to the 4th week, we'll make sure to give everybody the list. And so we're excited about that. We've got some amazing numbers. Finally had an opportunity the last couple of days to kind of dive into it. We had over 5,036 different contacts. I mean, that's a lot of phone calls. Over 5,000 phone calls over the 4-week period. As far as individual names, at least first names, we've got over 3,900 names of asset managers. Now, yes, it's $1,100 name difference between having a bank name and actually having an asset manager. The thing you got to keep in mind is not everybody's going to be able to get through. That's what happens some of the time. People making phone calls and they forget to get in through. Out of those 3,900 names, the most valuable thing is we have 2,200 emails. And that's a really valuable aspect of things is where's my phone? I leave my phone here. My phone ringing and nobody's answering. Oh, great times. Gotta love scheduling. Anyway, we'll get 2,200 new emails to add to our database to reach out to. Now, that's phenomenal. I hope the 15 to 20 people, actually the 50 people made it through, are going to continue to follow up with their phone call list. Now they also have the list. Am I concerned that some people are going to call again? Not really. Because honestly, I'll be surprised if everybody makes phone calls for longer than a month or two. It just is what it is. I hope they do. I literally hope they put this into their systems. I hope they, either their MailChimp or their Infusionsoft or whatever, and they start making phone calls on a regular basis. It's one of the most valuable things that they be doing in their business. I know that's what we're going to do. I know that once I get through NoteCamp, we'll have everything uploaded in the system and start rocking out with the regular emails. Now, I've already got a pretty good sized database that we're already marketing to on a regular basis, but we'll be adding a new chunk to them as well and reaching out and going from there. But I see Tanya is on here. Tanya made some great phone calls and some stuff like that. A lot of people are asking, hey, did it merit any tapes? Well, we're working through some assets. We're working through tapes right now. We get bids with tapes in. They're kind of performing notes. Not really my cup of tea, but we have a buyer who submitted a bid on them. We're waiting to see back on what they're available. We've made plenty of contacts already with asset managers who, especially on the note, say, hey, I don't have anything this month, but follow up next quarter, follow up next month. And that's where the key is in the follow-up. And that's where most people, I'd say 95% of people fail is in the follow-up. They just don't follow up. They get so busy, they get so sidetracked, chasing different squirrels, which is easy to do, and then also life to go from there. And so, awesome. Here we go. Great stuff. Donna says, thanks. It was so great to make all this call. I think we learn a lot about ourselves when you're making phone calls. I think when sometimes we go to the least technologically savvy aspect of things, of just dialing for dollars a lot of times, we realize that this is a very simple business. And really, that's what this comes down to. Yes, you can have a lot of great marketing. You can have a lot of great autoresponders, ClickFunnels, things like that, which is important, and videos and training and stuff like that. But it's all about getting people to connect with you. Now, the one thing I hadn't figured out yet, and let me do that real fast, is I was asking people to go back in and figure out how many, or try to connect with the people. They couldn't get a phone number, email, try to go back in and connect with those on a LinkedIn profile. And I actually have the spreadsheet pulled up right here. I do a custom sort here. We do it by LinkedIn profile, which is a great way to connect with people as well if you don't have an email address. All right. So we go to LinkedIn profile. I'm going to have to go to edit. Somebody cannot locate. It's all right. But we start there, 221. We work our way down. Boom. There's at least 1,000 LinkedIn profiles in there. 1,300. Yeah, 1,300 LinkedIn profiles, which is a great way to add to your database, because that's one of the best ways to reach out to asset managers is to connect them directly on LinkedIn. So that's a beautiful thing. 3 ways to connect with them: an email blast, phone number, email, phone number, and then also LinkedIn profile. Now, one of the great things you can do is, one of the things that we will do is take the list of emails and upload that list to Facebook for a custom audience by just uploading the emails and seeing if those that have a Facebook profile using their LinkedIn profile or their email address as their main email. Some do, some won't. It's probably going to be less than 30%, but that 30% on 2,200 names, that's roughly 700 people I connect with on market to on Facebook. Okay, that is a good thing to do things on a regular basis. So our whole aspect of things, you have to keep in mind here, is 80% of sales are made after the 5th contact. That is a great thing to think about, because most people won't get to number 5. They won't get to their 5th email in a month. They won't get to their 5th follow-up phone call. They won't reach out the 5th time and touch somebody, okay? So that's why it's important that you develop some sort of kind of funnel campaign or marketing campaign to really funnel these leads through. So that's exactly what we're doing. So we take the list, we'll upload it to MailChimp, Infusionsoft. There'll be a little bit of crossover, a little bit of duplicates on this list, but not much. So we get a clean list that way. We'll send a blast out. Now, the thing is important, whenever you upload a list of like 5,000 names or 3,000 emails or whatever it is, split that list up. The last thing you want to do is send an email out and have bad emails bounce and kill your email service provider. They kill your account, which will happen if you're using Constant Contact or iContact. MailChimp will even slap you on the wrist occasionally. So it's important to get that list up or cleaned up so those that you have working emails are perfect, so that can delete off the ones that aren't working. It also helps you out, too, to be able to view who's opening your emails, okay? Now, the fact that we have a lot of names allows for us to customize those emails by putting their first name or last name or their email, their name literally in the email message with custom fields. Now, that's a great way to get an extra couple percentage points of people to open, or a couple percentage points higher on your open rates, because people see their name and they're like, oh, I'm going to click on this. Well, boom, they open up. The important thing to keep in mind is once you get them to open up that email, you want to try to get their attention quick, because as you'll hear me often say now, we have an attention span less than a goldfish. Goldfish is 9 seconds. We have an 8-second attention span, which I can see by people viewing and dropping off. All right. So the important thing is have some image, maybe a video that people can click on so you can see, hey, just want to say, hey, this is what we specialize in doing. You want to have it short and sweet. You don't want to have diarrhea mouth and throw up on them. You want to keep your email to really 3 or 4 paragraphs at the most. Something short, concise, straight to the point. You know, hey, do you have anything on your books? Do you have anything with any hair on it? Do you have anything ugly? You know, those are the things to keep in mind when you're out contacting asset managers. You want to be short, sweet, and be respectful of your time. Now, are you going to have people that unsubscribe? Are you going to be people that don't want to talk to you? Yes. But what happens a lot of times, though, too, is a lot of people will hold your email. A lot of asset managers aren't in the process of building lists of note sellers and note buyers. So as you follow up with them on your 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th month of following up between now and August, the whole idea of this exercise, for the most part, is not to get anything right now. It's to get something over the next 6 months, over the next 7 months, over the rest of the year. If we get anything in the first 30 to 60 days, by all means, that's phenomenal. Anything that comes from those tapes that we have marketing, we'll split the profits across the 15. But after 30 days, it's all in the follow-up. If somebody's marketing a list and they get a list that I don't get, hey, kudos to them, okay? That's why big believer there's enough to go around. Now, not everybody's going to do that. Most 99% of note investors out there are want something given to them. We had a guy last night on the Note Night in America webinar. It's like, oh, am I going to get lists? Am I going to get directed to asset managers? I'm like, not for $97 a month. No. Not to come to a class for $500. I'm not going to give you my asset manager list for $500. It doesn't work that way. You have to be willing to work. If you're not going to pay for a list, which a list like this is very, very valuable, if you're not going to work for it, then you have to expect to buy from the short end of the stick, to buy from the low-hanging fruit, you know, that everybody else is going after. And that's the big thing that we put in place. That's why we came up with this idea in November of last year to start this out, kick off January, February, this big kind of push, is nobody's doing it. Nobody's doing it. Nobody's separating themselves, and that's where we feel that we separate ourselves, is reaching out on this Banking Blitzkrieg. Now, love it for those that are watching on Facebook Live. If you have any questions or comments about this, we'll give periodic updates on what's going on. I think it's a regular thing we'll have, at least probably discussion what's going on once a month with our marketing. You know, that's the biggest thing to keep in mind is I think a lot of people don't do what we do. I mean, there's an exception or two. You know, Brett Palumbo with Distress Pro. Actually, we got to get Brett on here. Got to get him on as an episode of the show to talk about Distress Pro and his background, stuff like that. But he does this on a regular basis. The thing you got to keep in mind, you don't need 5,000 sources. How many tapes came in? We had 2 tapes come in, performing notes that we're actually having priced out right now, Tanya. Actually, we have an offer in on them, and we've presented the offer today to the 2 sellers to see if they're interested in selling off their performing tapes, because we have a performing buyer. Okay, so that's the good thing. We've had a few one-off assets here and there, some REOs that popped up that people were working on. We had a weird kind of deal out in West Texas on a timeshare, a bunch of timeshare notes the guy wanted to unload. in a small little town. It's like, no wonder you should not be putting timeshares in a small West Texas town. But that's the thing. I didn't expect us to get tapes. If we did, great. It's all about the follow-up. It's all about dropping an email out once a month, setting that up to do business on a regular basis. And when I be doing business is the actual business of reaching out to asset managers. You don't have to make 1,000 phone calls. You don't have to make 100 phone calls in a week once you've got a list. Send it up once a month. Boom. First Tuesday of the month, send it out. Follow that email up on the next Thursday or 2 days later to the same email to people that didn't open the first round of emails at an opposite time. So if you sent your first Tuesday email at 11 o'clock in the morning, send the follow-up one at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, if you can use something like MailChimp as your email service provider, MailChimp will allow you to set up they call it time warp, where you can set it up 24 hours in advance of it going out. It'll actually go out and identify the time zones of those emails and IP addresses and things like that, and be able to allow you to send an email out as if you need to send it at 3 o'clock Central or 3 o'clock time frame. Sends it a chunk at 3 o'clock Eastern all the way to 3 o'clock Pacific. So you'll have 4, 5 potential emails going out that hits their time zone and their optimal open times. Those are great. It's a great feature to have on a list like this. You're going to have to have a paid version of an email service provider for the most part. I mean, MailChimp used to, I don't know if they still do it or not, used to let you have up to 2,000 contacts before they start charging you. That's not the case for the most part. It's well worth paying for it. We'll drop this into our funnel. There's a whole variety of things on those that communicate with us and stuff like that. We'll be able to reach out to them on a regular basis. Send them a quarterly update at least on what we've bought, what we closed on, and really kind of go from there. But we got a good question here. Cedric asks a question. If you have a full-time job, how many calls to asset managers should you target per week and be effective? Of course, you have to be consistently doing it along with your email. So that's a great question, Cedric. I'm going to separate the two because your emails and your phone calls are different things that you can do. If you're using an email service provider like MailChimp and Fusionsoft, you can write your emails that go out. You can write those at night, or you can set up your you can write your email at night for it to auto send it, schedule a time for it to go out. So your emails are different. If you're working a full-time job, I don't know what your time frame is, okay? And if you're working 9 to 5, you don't really have a lot of time unless you're doing it at lunch or you're on the East Coast and then you start calling the West Coast. Or if you wake up early, if you live on the East Coast, if you live on the West Coast, you could wake up early and call on the East Coast. That's a harder thing. That's why I like the LinkedIn strategy of going onto LinkedIn and contacting asset managers on LinkedIn, because you can do that at all hours of the day or the night. All right. So if you're working a full time 8 to 5, 9 to 5, you can knock that out. Now, if you're making phone calls during your lunch break, you're going to have to do it consistently to see any type of improvement. I always tell people, let's see here, lunch. Oh, you're still doing your lunch. Okay. I tell people, look, if you've got 2 hours, you should be able to knock out at least 20 to 30 phone calls. And that's just boom, boom. That's having a list pre-printed and you're just dialing for dollars. I used to make phone calls in my truck, especially if I was driving at a long commute, sit in traffic. I would have a list printed out that I would just dial. While I was driving, I have it on speaker and be calling that way. You don't want to do that if you got really crappy reception, though. That sounds like shit. But it's important if you've got an hour or an hour and a half, 30 minutes, you're not going to have a lot of time, and it's going to be hard to get around to doing if you've got to run an errand or two. So personally, if you've only got the lunch break, I probably would make calling asset managers my strategy. I would say going to LinkedIn and connecting with them on LinkedIn and then exporting those contacts and then emailing those out would be more effective to you. And then, of course, you can always, I don't know what your work is, or if you're in front of a computer, you can always kind of answer those individually as they come in throughout the day, and then set up a time if you need to call people back at lunchtime if you need to, or take a break. So that's what I would recommend for that aspect. Look, guys, asset managers are just normal people like you and me. If somebody gives you crap, you have to realize one thing. If you're an entrepreneur and you're out as a real estate investor doing things, It's your own butt. It's your own money on the line. Many asset managers, even hedge fund guys, they've got a salary. They've got a job. They've got a cushion, I guess you could say, a safety net to make things happen. So don't ever feel intimidated when calling them, because you're calling on your behalf. You're calling to offer them up an opportunity to help actually offload their debt to you, or you can take over the bank's problems and create a true win-win. All right. What other questions do you guys have? If they're watching this on Facebook Live, if you're listening on iTunes and Stitcher, I want to say thank you again, as always, for listening. We're glad to have you. So proud of the fact we went over, as of this morning, 70,000 downloads on the podcast. It was exciting in under 7 months, just over 6 months time frame, which is exciting to see, definitely, with that aspect of things. But how often should you update your lists? Well, that's an important thing, because in most cases, you'll probably get around a 20% open rate. Hopefully, the first couple emails you probably get closer to a 30, 35% if you're sure the email is being accurate. You wish it was more. Sending that follow-up email a couple days later should ensure another 5 to 12% open rates, depending on where they hit, okay? That's maybe somewhere between a 25 and 40% open rate. That's a phenomenal aspect. Now, if you keep sending that list out, you keep sending that list out on a regular basis, on a monthly basis, you'll get a few more percentage points. And Tanya, you asked the question. Tanya asked when those members, when will the Banking Blitzkrieg participants receive the database? I've already uploaded to Basecamp, the Basecamp group. So you got to log into Basecamp, dear. It's there for you. It's been there since Sunday night, I believe. All right. If you're part of Banking Blitzkrieg, there's 20 people. Not everybody's going to get that. Okay. Only a chunk of people will see that. Anyway, so that's the thing. If you follow up, you'll probably at some point, you'll have some people that open the email up the second or third time. They didn't open it the first time. You'll get some people that will opt out. You'll get some people that just never open the email. It is what it is. The idea to keep in mind is that at some point, if you stick with it long enough, 3, 6, 9, 12 months of emails, eventually people will respond and they'll start seeing your emails, and you'll be branded into their brain. Oh, there's that note gal, or there's that note guy. I need to send them some stuff, or I got something on my books, or I got something negative. I wonder if this guy or this gal that keeps emailing me monthly is interested in buying this asset. And that's what you want. I mean, we have seen that time and time again over the last couple of years of people, when we send an email out, like, I have something finally for you. There's been funny times. I've been at different conferences, Mortgage Banker Association, servicing conventions, whatever, and people have come up to me and said, hey, you're that guy I get an email from. I just want to come up and say thank you, or I love your marketing. Or, oh, you're that guy I keep getting emails from you. Okay, keep getting emails from me. Great. You know what they usually say? I always say, well, great. If you don't like it, you can unsubscribe. Oh, no. I like the information. I like seeing what you're doing. That's the thing ultimately you have to keep in mind, everybody. We're constantly in a marketing phase. You as entrepreneurs, you as real estate investors, you're constantly marketing to better yourself, to find deals. And an asset manager list is never going to be harmful for you to do. It's something that's going to be valuable for the long run. Building and honing your craft to write an email or create a marketing piece, you're going to suck at first. Everybody sucks at first. You want to keep in mind the idea of embracing the suck. And if you've ever done that, gotten better at something, if you're watching this, if you do that, if you give me that hashtag, embrace the suck. If you'll write that in the comments, you're watching this right now, watching the replay. If you've ever done something that you've sucked at first and gotten better, give me the hashtag embrace the suck. I'd love to hear it. Love to see it. Because if you haven't, you're lying. If you've never sucked at something, you are so lying, and you need to go get help. You need to check yourself into Liars Anonymous, because everybody sucks when you start off. I have sucked at so many things, and the only thing reason I've gotten better at so many things is that we stick to it. I don't focus on my weaknesses. I focus on my strengths. Now, yes, oftentimes, thanks for sharing, Cedric. That's awesome. Is you're going to get better. You get better at things over time. You just have to work at it and continue to work at it and hone your skill. You're going to get better and better and better and better. Now, the thing is, somebody's asked me, well, Scott, can I hire a virtual assistant? Can I hire somebody from overseas, the Philippines, to dial for dollars. You can. There's nothing saying that you can't. I just don't think it's an effective use of time. Not that they, I mean, don't get me wrong. Some of them speak really fluent English, and that's great. If you can set that up, good, do it. But those that don't speak good English, you just don't want them to do it because it's going to burn bridges more than anything else. Okay. And it'd be a waste of time when they're not properly sharing information. So I know several people that have hired Philippines call centers, and they're doing that. That's phenomenal. It's great. You want to make sure you give them a script and you actually kind of coach them through things because they're not going to be good at it right off the bat. They're going to suck a little bit. You just have to spend time coaching them. And that's one of the big things that has helped is the use of scripts and things like that. And those that are interested, we do have some call scripts in our virtual note buying workshop this weekend, this Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're going to dive a little bit more into the Banking Blitzkrieg a little bit this weekend as well, talking about some of the things that we did and kind of helping people go through kind of the initial phase so that they want to start calling asset managers they can, and they can be effective at it. So any other questions or comments on things on this episode, everybody? I appreciate those that are watching, those that are sharing. Thank you for those that are asking questions. It always makes it easier. You know, I was very pleasantly surprised. Very pleasant surprise on the number of phone calls and their contacts. There is I see a few duplicates as people included call logs and stuff, and that's completely fine. You know, we'll get that fixed, cleaned up relatively easy when we upload it into our CRM tool and can combine contacts together. That's an important thing. So, but there's no other questions, everybody. We will wrap it up for this episode of the Nut Closer Show. I just wanted to share the Banking Blitzkrieg results and kind of what's happened and the effectiveness of it right now. It's not something I knew that we would have instant gratification from. And I shared that with everybody as they were going through it. I was like, listen, this is probably not going to be something that works in the first 30 days or 60 days. This is a long-term thing. The biggest value you're going to get is you're going to walk away with a very valuable list that if you use it, great. You'll find success over the long run. If you don't use it, shame on you. This is not for you. Okay? This is not for you. So that's the big thing you got to keep in mind calling asset managers. It's not something that's going to happen like that. If you do it every week, day in, day out, set aside 2 days or a day or set aside a couple hours each night to jump on LinkedIn or other things to find asset managers, you'll find success. It just takes time. And that's what building a business is all about. You don't want to flash in the pan. You want to put some dedication in, some marketing, some funnel work, and you'll often throw a lot of stuff in, but you'll get some really valuable stuff on the other side. So go out, make something happen today, guys. Hashtag embrace the suck. If you're dealing with something struggling, go out, make it happen, and we'll see you all at the top, everybody. Bye.